ఇదంతా కూడా ఈ కాల్వ మూసీ వాటర్ది పొల్యూషన్ ఎంత ఉన్నది ఇప్పుడు మీకు కనిపించేస్తున్నది. ఏ కలర్లో వస్తున్నది, ఇండస్ట్రియల్ పొల్యూషన్ వాటరు ఏ విధంగా.
Bate is the community leader of Edulabad, a small town in southern India, situated on the banks of the Musi River. For the past 30 years, he has been fighting against the industrial pollution that is devastating his region.
ఫార్మా కంపెనీల నుంచి వచ్చే వ్యర్థ రసాయనాల వల్ల ఈ విధంగా అనేది ఈ నురగ ఎట్లా వస్తుంది ఇప్పుడు మీ ముందే చూపిస్తాను. ఈ బల్క్ డ్రగ్స్ కంపెనీస్ నుంచి, ఫార్మా కంపెనీల నుంచి ఈ విధంగా రావడంతో, కాబట్టి ఇంత ఘోరంగా పరిస్థితి ఉన్నప్పుడు మరి పరిశ్రమల యజమానులు ఏ విధంగా వాళ్ళకి న్యాయం అవుతున్నది? నీళ్ళు తాగిన పశుపక్షాదులకు ఏ విధంగా ఉంటుందని అనేది.
The water of the Musi burns, once a source of life and abundance. The river has now disappeared beneath a thick layer of toxic foam. It carries this harmful water for hundreds of kilometers and brings death and illness to the capital of the region. Hyderabad, an industrial supercity of 8 million inhabitants, has become the largest pharmaceutical hub in Asia in just 40 years. Global giants in the medical sector have set up their production line here, attracted by cheap labor, low taxes, and practically non-existent environmental regulations. More than 140 manufacturers occupy the suburbs of the city. They're all here: Mylan, Sandoz, Sanofi, Pfizer. Their factories work night and day to meet the ever-growing global demand. 30% of all non-branded medicine and 40% of all vaccines taken in the world are made in these facilities. To meet production quotas, new factories spring up every year. The air, the water, and the ground are soaked with pollution from the medical industry. An insidious pollution, which the scientific community accuses of causing pulmonary infections, miscarriages, and cancer in the people who live here. By wanting to become the new global pharmacy, India is poisoning its land and its people. Edulabad is symbolic of this. This town of 9,000 inhabitants is located just a few kilometers from the factories of Hyderabad. It is here that the highest concentration of toxic waste has been measured. Bate, the community leader, has been systematically documenting the consequences of this pollution.
అదే విధంగా మత్స్యకారులు అంటే కుటుంబాల వారిగా చూసుకుంటే మత్స్యకారులు ఒక్కొక్కసారి పొల్యూషన్ ఎక్కువ రావడంతో రాత్రిపూట ఎక్కువ వెదజల్లుతుంటారు. ఈ పరిశ్రమల యజమానులు వాళ్ళు ఎఫ్లెంట్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ ప్లాంట్లు పెట్టుకోరు, కంపెనీలలో పెట్టుకోకుండా వీటిని సరాసరి మూసీ నదిలో వదలడంతో చెరువులలోకి వచ్చేసేసి నాటేసే మహిళలు ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో, కలుపుకు తీసే మహిళలు ఎవరైతే ఈ వరి చేనులలో ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళకందరికీ ఈ కురుపులు రావడము, ఇవన్నీ కూడా రావడము, సంపాదించిన దాంట్లో పెద్ద సగము ఆదాయము పొల్యూషన్ కంట్రోల్ బోర్డు వాళ్ళే కానీ, కంపెనీ వాళ్ళే కానీ, పొల్యూషన్ వెదజల్లుతున్న కంపెనీలే కానీ, ప్రభుత్వాలకే కానీ వీళ్ళకు ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి వీళ్ళ మీద చట్టరీత్యా చర్యలు తీసుకునేటట్టు ఉంటేనే.
Despite his unwavering determination, Bate knows that his hopes of justice are unlikely to be realized. In 30 years, not a single complaint or plea has borne fruit. A whole generation of farmers has already been sacrificed. Parvin and Shrikant have spent their lives working on the banks of the Musi. Today, they are both suffering from serious pulmonary infections.
మళ్ళీ కొద్దిసేపు దాలినాక మళ్ళీ ఉంటుంది. ఎమ్మటే ఉండాలి. అదిగో ఆ దొడ్డికాడ ఉండడు, ఎక్కడికి వచ్చిన దాకా కూడా ఉంటానని ఉండ. ఇప్పుడు ఆయన పోతే ఆయన వెనకిడితే నేను పోవాల్సి ఉంది పొలం కూడా.
పొలంకి
ఎందుకంటే ఇంటికాడ ఉండా నాకు ప్రాబ్లం అనిపిస్తుంది. ఉండలేము అని అర్థమైపోయింది.
The land these farmers own has been contaminated by the chemical products used during the medication's manufacturing process. International NGOs, like the Dutch foundation Changing Markets, have been documenting the contamination of the Musi River for more than 10 years. Every one of their studies has shown the presence of significant quantities of dangerous products, such as chrome, arsenic, and nickel.
ఉన్నది మనకి రెండే సోర్సెస్. గాలి స్వచ్ఛమైనది కావాలి, తినే తిండి పౌష్టికంగా అనేది ఉండాలి, తాగే నీరు కరెక్ట్గా ఉండాలి. అప్పుడు వాళ్ళు ముందు మహిళలు గిడ చెప్పారు ఇట్లా అబార్షన్స్ గిడ జరుగుతున్నాయి, ఈ నీళ్లను తాగడానికి కాదు తాకడానికి గిడ పనికిరావని చెప్పేసి శాస్త్రవేత్తలు చెప్పారు. తాకడానికి గిడ పనికిరావని అన్నారు. అసలుకు శ్వాసకోశ వ్యాధులు వస్తున్నాయి, కళ్ళకు ఎఫెక్ట్ అవుతున్నది. అదేవిధంగా అసలు వాళ్ళ పెరుగుదల ఉండట్లేదు ఈ ధాన్యం తినేసరికి.
This is Bate's greatest concern, that the latest generation is already doomed, even before they're born. In the only town in Edulabad, several hundred children have physical or psychological problems. The government hasn't carried out any studies on the topic, but Bate regularly takes records. According to him, more than 20% of the town's children are victims of the Musi's water. Shambhavi has 3 children. All of them were born with physical deformities and mental impairments. The daughter of the family next door has the same disabilities.
మా పిల్లలు అవతారం చూడుగా, మా పిల్లలు ఇక గిట్లున్నారు. ఎల్లిపాసాద్ దవాఖానకు పోయినా, సంజరాన్ దవాఖానకు పోయినా, నువ్వు చెప్పిన దవాఖానకు తీసుకొని పోతానే ఉన్నా. ఇన్ని పైసలు పోసుకుంటూ వస్తున్నా, అట్లా కూడా అయితలేదు.
అలా ఎవరైనా వస్తే చిన్న పిల్లలాగా అనిపిస్తుంది.
12-13 ఉంటారు.
చాలా అన్ని అలా ఆమెకి ఎప్పుడు నాలుకే సరి ఉండదు, నాలుగు ఎప్పుడు వలిగే ఉంటుంది. సెన్సిటివ్ ఏదన్నా తలిగిందంటే రక్తం వెళ్తూనే ఉంటుంది. ఒకసారి అయిపోయి కూడా అవుతుంది. కోపం వచ్చిందంటే కొరుకుతుంది, గిచ్చుకుంటుంది. మమ్మల్ని కూడా కొరుకుతుంది. జ్వరం సర్ది వచ్చిందంటే మమ్మల్ని కూడా కొరుకుతుంది, పాపను.
Bate remains powerless in the face of these mothers' distress, but he refuses to abandon them to their fate. Using money collected by the community, he pays the local doctor to attend every week to ensure the children get regular checkups.
గత 20 సంవత్సరాల నుండి నేను ఈ గ్రామంలో ఎదలాబర్ గ్రామంలో చూస్తున్నప్పటి నుండి పిల్లలు చాలా తక్కువ ఉండేది ఈ జబ్బున బారిన పడి. రోజు రోజుకు అవి పెరుగుతున్నాయి.
Unfortunately, he can only observe and record the harm. To this day, and to his knowledge, there is no treatment that would improve the condition of these children, as their illnesses are still relatively unknown. Bate has sent several reports to the manufacturers and the state's governor to alert them to the children's situation. His numerous letters have gone unanswered. And the tragedy that unfolds in Edulabad is repeated mechanically in each town and village that the River Musi crosses through. This is the starting point for one Hyderabad University professor's research. Vijay Gudavati specializes in environmental economy. He is one of the first to have documented the origins of the Musi River pollution.
Right. So we are going to a place called Gaddapotaram. This is an industrial estate. So this is an area which has been allotted for the establishment of industries.
See one right now, the one that's passing by Mailan. Then you have Arabindo, you have Hetero, you have the Reddies. I think you have almost all the some of the biggest, some of the largest manufacturing establishments are operating from this region. Here we are where the industry is located, and here we found a cesspool. But as you can see it, this is not just waste water. So the claim is that not a single drop of water, which is polluted water, is outside the premises of the industry. So there is a seepage of all of this into the groundwaters, and this would have a lot of hazardous chemicals. As we see it, there is not much of effluent visible here right at the site of production, but there are all these little streams, little places which eventually carry the water to the Musi.
This situation is made possible by major flaws in the regulatory system.
The regulation failure is on account of a variety of things. One, that the industry is a very, very powerful lobby. They are part of the ruling class in a sense. So they have a variety of these networks, caste-based networks that run into top-level politicians, bureaucrats. There are threats that come through from the industry. So there's a kind of a mafia culture that actually talks about eliminating people, activists. So there is a lot of fudging of data. There's a lot of misrepresentation of the actual circumstances and conditions.
Serious failings, which could lead to a health catastrophe. We had wanted to question the regulatory board and manufacturers about the contaminated wastewater, but none of them answered our requests for an interview. Vijay Gudavarti and his teams have taken several samples, which showed concentrations of antibiotics that have never been seen anywhere in the world until now.
The worry is that if you send effluents carrying antibiotics or other kinds of hazardous waste, mix it with a musi, which is basically carrying domestic sewage and drainage from the city. There is a lot of human fecal matter, and those fecal matter carry a variety of pathogens, human pathogens. And if they are in continuous interface with the waters which are carrying the antibiotics,
Vijay's fears are already a reality in Hyderabad. These superbacteria massively multiply in the water of the Musi and seep into groundwater tables, contaminating drinking water and food. More than half of the capital's inhabitants are infected, and in its hospitals, the superbacteria are already causing harm. Ramesh Konanki is a pediatrician at Rainbow Children's Hospital. His service is overrun, as antibiotics usually prescribed to children have become ineffective.
Usually when we are giving an antibiotic to a person, the antibiotic should go into the target organism and they should destroy that. They develop a mechanism where they are resistant to the antibiotic. So this is the first X-ray when the child came. So both lungs were totally white out. Okay, na? So this is the lungs where the child came to us, and immediately within 1 hour we have to put the child on the ventilator. So he came from the community with both right and left-sided pneumonia, and he is got a very serious infection in the lungs, which is a multi-drug resistant. And despite of our antibiotic also, child is not improving. Usually organisms which are resistant to the common antibiotic, those are known as superbugs. Previously we used not to see a lot of superbugs, but they are nowadays prevalent in every community, in every hospital. So the common antibiotic which were initially working, that is not working against them right now.
In 2022, 60,000 children died in the country, infected by bacteria that is resistant to antibiotics. This silent epidemic has already crossed the borders, killing more than 1.3 million people across the world per year. Scientific projections by the World Health Organization predict that 10 million humans will die every year from now until 2050, with this becoming the leading cause of global mortality. This is the paradox of the Indian pharmaceutical industry. By wanting to treat the world, it might be creating tomorrow's diseases. A blind and dangerous strategy carried out in the name of economic growth, which is damning future generations. The Indian government is already looking to the future and wants to push its advantage in the pharmaceutical sector even further to become the #1 producer of medication in the world and overtake China, which is their main competitor. This ambition has a name: Pharma City. Jayesh Ranjan is Minister for Development and Industry for the state of Telangana. He is in charge of monitoring this project.
Nowhere else in the world is there a pharma city of this kind of a scale. The ambition that we have, that the size of the industry will be scaled up 3 times more, from 80 billion in the present to 250 billion US dollars. This is very, very doable, very possible, and we feel very happy at the achievements that this sector has given. Approximately 400 companies have already applied for taking lands and industrial plots in Pharma City. This is just the beginning. My guess is that approximately the Pharma City will accommodate 1,500 plus companies. So this again is a matter of great pride that Hyderabad-based companies today are successfully manufacturing in the US, in Europe, in other parts of the world. So this is one industry which has really been the flag bearer of our industrial prowess. The government is fully behind this industry with all these initiatives that we speak about. Much more is doable because pharma is a polluting industry, whether we like it or not. So in the new Pharma City, we have put the state-of-the-art effluent treatment plants on behalf of the government. Approximately 2 years have gone in just getting all the papers, all the studies, all the analysis done, which the regulators require, and then getting their approval. So that milestone has been completed. Now we have full-fledged environmental approval for the project, and as soon as the balanced land acquisition is completed, we'll be able to roll out everything. So we are just literally a few months away from launching this project.
The government of Telangana has envisioned Hyderabad Pharma City as the first of its kind environmentally sustainable industrial city. Duly recognizing the potential and national importance of the project, Hyderabad Pharma City will not only serve as a solution to country's health security, but will set a new global benchmark to an inclusive, sustainable development from every perspective.
So, there you have the industrial utopia that the Indian government dreams of. In the shadow of its colossal property project, there is a human and ecological tragedy unfolding. Wild and as yet untouched land spreads out to the south of Hyderabad. At the edge of these protected spaces, there are large agricultural plots, which are still cultivated by hand. It is the last unpolluted area in the state of Telangana, and one of the most biodiverse areas in the country. It is here that Pharma City will take root. And construction has already started. Forests of electricity pylons, which are needed to power the thousands of factories, have already replaced the unspoiled jungle. Hills and mountains have been cut down, and riverbeds have been moved. 80 square kilometers of farming land and pristine forests will be transformed into a paradise for medicine manufacturers. And almost 500,000 people are under threat of eviction, which is criminal in the eyes of Saraswati Kaluva, a militant ecologist who has become one of the final defenses against Pharma City.
You know, they've been buying up land for dirt cheap prices and then converting everything into plots. I think is a very big, monstrous project, you know, that's gobbling up a whole lot of land, resources. There's going to be huge impact because so far we never had anything like 1,000 pharma companies in one place. They are not even recognized as existent. So many such people are there, so where would all they go? They're just saying, okay, we have given compensation to the farmers, but those are only the private landowners. I mean, it's unimaginable the amount of destruction that can happen with this project.
When Pharma City was announced in 2018, Saraswati Kaluva founded a collective which brought together several thousand farmers. Their objective is to stop the government from acquiring the final plots of land they need to launch Pharma City.
This red line, what you see is the outline of the Pharma City, okay, which is about 19,333 acres, spanning 12 villages, revenue villages, and many hamlets. And here you see it is right next to the big forest. And this is called, it's a reserve forest, of course. This is one of the first letters that we sent to the Ministry of Environment with all these, all the violations that happened on the Pharma City. So actually what happened is the only good thing after writing all these letters was that the ministry has given a condition that no land must be taken without the consent of the landowners.
A vital victory for the farmers. Saraswati Kaluva has turned her fight against Pharma City into the fight of her life. She tirelessly travels across the region, meeting with community leaders to offer them legal help and to organize their defense.
ఇప్పుడు ఇంత బారాన అయిపోయింది ఈ శారణ కోసం ఎందుకు ఆపాలి ప్రాజెక్ట్ అనే అంటాడు కానీ నువ్వు ఏది కూడా చట్టం ప్రకారం చేయలేదు దానికి సమాధానం చెప్పంటే సమాధానం లేదు అయితే 99% మొత్తం ఖచ్చితంగా మన వైపే ఉంటుంది మా బాధ తెలుసుకోండి మీ బాధ ఇట్లా అయింది మీరందరు కుదార్థంగా ఉంటుర్రు చిన్నగా ఇప్పుడు చాప కింద నీరులాగా ఒక్కొక్క ఊరిని వేసుకొస్తుండు కాబట్టి మీరంతా బాగున్నారని మాత్రం ఏం మురవకండి అని చెప్పి మనం గట్టిగా చెప్పుకొని తర్వాత మనము ట్రాక్టర్ ర్యాలీ కానీ ఏదైనా పెట్టుకొని పెద్ద అది ఓకేనా రద్దు చేయించేదాకా మనము నిద్రపోవద్దు
మొత్తం 5 ఎకరాల భూమి ఉంది నాకు 5 ఎకరాల భూమి కూడా సేద్యం చేస్తున్నా కొడుకుండు ముగ్గురు పిల్లలు నలుగురు మొత్తం 7 మంది కుటుంబం మేము ఈ ఫార్మసిటీ తీసుకుంటే మా బతుకులు ఏమి లేవు ఇక మేము ఇంకో పని చేయడానికి లేదు ఉద్యోగాలు లేవు చదువుకోలేదు మేమైనా ఎక్కడ పోయినా ఏమైనా చేతుల కిందనే బతకాలి అటువంటి బతుకు కూడా బతకలేని పరిస్థితి అందుకోసం మేము ఏమంటాం ఇక్కడ వండే పంటలు అన్నీ మాతాయి మాకు మామిడి తోటలు ఉన్నాయి టమాటా తోటలు ఉన్నాయి చాలా ప్రమాదం ఉంది ఈ ఫార్మసిటీ వస్తే ఇక్కడ ఉన్న ప్రజలందరూ నానా అవస్థల పడి రోగాల పాలయ్యి పిల్లలు కనకుండా
ఆ కేసీఆర్ ఫస్ట్ మాకు 80 లక్షలు అని చెప్పిండు ఆడికెళ్ళి 12.5 అన్నాడు మళ్ళీ 16 మార్చిండు మీరు ఎన్ని పెట్టినా మేము ఫార్మసిటీకి భూములు ఇవ్వము మాకు ఫార్మసిటీ అవసరం లేదని చెప్పిండు
కాబట్టి మా భూముల దగ్గరికి రావద్దు సచ్చినా మేము భూములు ఇవ్వము వాళ్ళు అతిమించి వచ్చినా మా రైతులందరినీ చంపేసి వాడు ఆక్రమించుకోమని.
The community's determination is mixed with despair as manufacturers apply more pressure as the opening date set by the government approaches.
We don't need a pharma industry in this country, at least. Maybe the West requires it. If the West needs it, then let them do it in their own land, in their own countries. So I think as people have to start rethinking, not by boundaries, but as human beings. We need to think about what are we doing to our other human beings, to our fellow human beings, and to our fellow species.
Saraswati Kaluva takes perhaps her last look at the wild land of her childhood. The Indian government has promised that Pharma City will not repeat the mistakes of the past and extols a new, clean industrial era. But the foundations of the largest pharmaceutical hub in the world is already poisoning the region. Can a few farmers really put up enough of a fight against the powerful pharmaceutical industry to avoid the region enduring the same fate as Hyderabad?